Okay, guys, welcome back. This is Josh. This is episode number 2 in our tutorial series. And in this episode, I'm going to be showing you guys some basics and just moving around in the scene. And then from there, we are going to start working on a main menu. It's just a start game and exit. We're not going to be worrying about any settings right now. So, right now, this is just where we left off last time. Just in a cube and a camera in our scene here. As you can tell right now, the cube is like a square. And that is because our scene is in the 2D mode. So if you see up here, it says 2D. If you click on that, it becomes this 3D world. And just a quick tip, if you have something selected over here, and you have your cursor in the scene window, if you hit F, it'll it'll focus on the object you have selected. So then when you're in this scene, in this 3D scene, or even in the 2D scene, you can use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. It's the same for 2D and 3D. And then if you hold the right mouse button, you can like look around, almost if you were like in the scene, tilting your head and looking around. Now, as I'm holding down the right mouse button, I can use WASD on your keyboard, and you can like move almost if you're walking inside the scene, like if you're controlling or playing a game. But you have to be holding the right mouse button as you're doing this. So right now I'm hitting A and D, going left and right, and you can also walk forward with W and S. So WASD on your keyboard, that'll make it a little bit easier to move around the scene. Same if you look up and then move, you'll move according to where you're looking. And also, let's say right now it's not very useful, but if we had a massive scene or a world we had created, if you hold shift and then WASD, you move a lot faster. So if you had a bigger scene and you need to get around quicker, you'd be using that. So right now we are going to be working on the main menu, which is not in a 3D area. So we are going to set our scene back to 2D. Okay. And we're also going to delete this cube for right now. And as you can see, if we go up here, we can switch between what we see in our game and the actual scene. So right now, since the only thing that's in our scene is the main camera, it's showing us what our main camera sees. So if we click main camera over here, you see this is the inspector menu I was talking about in the last episode. It gives us a bunch of options. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to change this background. Well, first of all, this right here, this drop down is going to tell us what we want our camera seeing. We want to see a skybox, which is if you want to add a sky into the game, a solid color, and then these two other ones. Right now, we need to worry about skybox and solid color. We're going to change to solid color because we don't need a sky in our main menu. And right here, you can change this background color. So as soon as you click on this little window opens up. And pretty much this is like any color picker that you've like seen in any game, not any game, any program like Photoshop or GIMP or anything like that. And so you can pick what color you want. I think right now I'm just gonna go for like a gray. Yeah, maybe a little bit lighter, like right there. Okay, you hit X and it saves it. And then now what we're gonna do is we have to actually start constructing the main menu screen. So if we go up here to game object in UI, which stands for user interface, you can see there's this option right here. It says text. So if we create that, you can see down here that text pops up. Now, Let's see here, is it going to show up? Yeah. So this, when you go back to the scene instead of game, you can see this box right here. And this box is the canvas. And the canvas is what holds all the user interface things. And since we didn't have one, it created one for us. And then it put text inside that. And so that's how that got created. But really what we're going to stay right now is in game. And if we open this up, click on text, this in our inspector menu, if you see right here, it just says text and has like a little box we can click in. This is the actual text that's being shown. So for example, if we see it's changing down here in the bottom left as I'm typing this or deleting. If we change this to title, or we'll do game title. Since we don't really have a title for our game yet, we'll just leave it as that. And then you'll see right here we have our position, X, Y, and Z. Right now we're just going to worry about X and Y. So if we set this to, I don't know, -4. So that ends up being right in the middle. And for our Y, we can go -2. So that ends up right there. I actually want it a little bit more toward the top, so you can just keep on messing with these numbers. So right there looks good. We can also change the scale. We don't really need to change that. No, we're gonna keep this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep the scale at 1. We're going here to font size, and we're gonna scale this up, and you'll see as that gets bigger, our actual font itself disappears, and that's because the width and height of our text box is so small. So and the size of the text ends up being bigger than that. So if we go, let's just make it 300 by 300. Make this 40, and let's just see if we can find it here. If you right click on this, click on reset, it'll just reset its position. Game. Okay, let's make the width 300. So if you just reset your position like that, right click and click reset, it'll default all these stats and it'll put it like right in the middle of your screen. And then from there you just need to change the width and maybe the height a little bit, and that'll make it to where you can make your text bigger and it'll stay inside your screen. So then if we make it go up a little bit more than that, like right there, I think it looks like it might need to go to the left a little bit. Right there looks good. And then now that we have that, this is just what you put your text as your game title. We're going to create a button. And a button is just something that when clicked, it's going to run a script that we create and type. So right now you go to up here, you go to game object, UI. Instead of clicking text this time, we're going to go down and click button. So you see it already creates one for us, and it says button. And now under this button, it's in our canvas still, because all UI goes in a canvas. But there's a new tab called button. And if you use this little triangle, it like shows you what's under or a part of this object. So if you open a button, it says text. So this text is just the text that's like on the button. So see how it says button? When you click text right here, it says button. So if we change this, we can do play. Okay. And then if you go back to button, we can go to reset, change this. We can let's make this a little bit. Let's make it 30. Looks fine. Okay. And then we're going to change the X position just to kind of get centered on game title. We are going to do what's negative 40, maybe? Looks good. And Y, make it go up a little bit. We'll go 30. Okay. So we'll get back to adding the scripts to it later. So let's just right click on this button and click rename and change the name to start button. Okay. That's just to keep things a little bit more organized. Or let's change it to play button. Okay. Change this text, rename this to play. And this text to title. You want to keep everything as organized as you can. This makes things much easier later when you have a lot of items. You don't want to just have them all be their default name, because then you won't know what to edit. Let's create another button. Let's right click, reset this one. And I believe for this button I had the height at 30. So let's just do it on this button too. Let's keep everything uniform. This button I had it at negative 40 for the X. So let's just keep that. And for the Y, let's actually go down to give it some space. That looks good. So we have play, and then this button, we'll just call this, let's rename it to quit button. Oh, there you go. And then rename the text in here to quit. And then we'll change this to quit. Okay. So now we have our game title, which I just have as game title because we don't have a title for our game yet. I have our canvas that holds all of our UI things. So if we close this up, we click this little triangle, it opens up, shows everything on our canvas. And in here we have our title, our play button, and our quit button. Under each button we have our text that's displayed in the game. So yeah, there's that. Let's see here, what else? Oh, for these buttons, if you see if I click play right now, you'll see if I hover over the button, you can see that the color, I don't know if you guys can tell, but it slightly changes when you just hover over the button, not clicking it. And you can actually change that color by, if you have the button selected over here in the inspector window, if you come over here and you look under the button script, there's an option called highlighted color. And then it has another color picker and you can open this up. So if we change this to just red, for example, let's do this for both. Under, this is highlighted color. If we now click play, if we highlight over this button, you'll see it turns red. That's just letting us know that if we click, that this is the button that we are selecting. And you see if you do click, it just stays red and nothing happens. And that's because we haven't added a script to these buttons yet. Nothing, it's not going to do anything. So, adding a script to it. So how scripts work with buttons is you can't put a script on the button itself. You put the script on an item in the game and the button can reference that script. Now, I believe you might be able to put it on the button and then reference the button itself, but it's much easier and cleaner to just create an empty game object that holds all your scripts. So for right now, if we go, we can close this right here. We go to game object, create empty. It just creates an item called game object. And we go up here, just reset to zero everything out. If we rename this just to scripts, so this is going to be an item that's just going to hold all of our scripts for us, okay? So now what we're going to do is we are going to write a script to put into our game object. So you're going to go down here, click on your assets down here. You're going to right click in here, create C sharp. That's what the number sign. It's not C number. It's pronounced C sharp script. So you're going to click that. Okay. And down here it's going to ask you. It's going to be like blue. It's asking what you want to call this. Okay. So I'm going to call this, and when you're writing code, you don't use spaces. You just capitalize the word, the first letter of the next word. So for example, you always capitalize the first letter. You go change. Okay. And instead of hitting space, I want to do the word scene, so you just capitalize S, then type in the rest of the word. So change scene. Okay. And you see if we are clicking through here, if we click on our script here, it gives us a little preview over here of what is written in our script. So now if we actually wanted to edit this script, we're going to double click this C# script. As you can see, I've already have some stuff in here, but if this ever pops up, just say reload all. Okay. Alright. So now we have our editor. In here we can type whatever we want. You can see this little box comes down and it'll try and correct things for us, whatever. So this is probably a little bit intimidating to a lot of you, but I'll explain some of it. So this right here, this public class change scene model behavior, this is just it's pretty much just saying this is the name. This is the name of our script. So you see change scene, it just made that the name of what we selected in the beginning. And then up here it says like using Unity Engine, using system.collections. These are, there are different, I'll call them tools in coding. And all these tools are in different toolboxes. And if you're using something other than the default language, you need to tell the code that you're using these other sets of tools. So for example, we're using some lines of code, some words that are in this Unity Engine toolbox, that's what I'll call it. Okay? And using system.collections, that's like a bunch of just default, like the default language, just nothing special. It even says, it tells us that it's unnecessary. So what else? See how this is in green? This is because it has these double slashes right here. If I were to delete these double slashes, this actually becomes a line of code. If you do two forward slashes in front of any line, it creates this whole line as a like comment. Okay, it's not actually a part of the code. It's just for if people or programmers are sharing code from one another, it's a way to just tell the person reading it what this block is actually doing. Okay, void start. This is in Unity. This is a preset function that as soon as this script is ran, everything inside these curly brackets, they mark the opening and ending of a function. Or for these ones right here, just marks our whole script. So everything has to be done inside these curly brackets. But right here, anything in this function, as soon as the script is run, will happen. It starts running this. Yeah, it kind of tells you in the green right here. And then for void update, everything in here, this function is ran every frame. So every frame of the game, it is checking what's inside or what you have written in there, and it's constantly running it. Now, what I usually like to do is, and a lot of people, they just delete all this right here. And you keep this curly bracket right here because this is like this is your script, your program itself. Everything has to be done inside these curly brackets. This marks the start, this marks the end. Okay, so for right here, we are going to create our own function. Okay, and right now we're going to call it public void. You don't need to know what those words mean until later. And then the next part here is just what we're naming it. Okay, what we're naming this function. I'm going to name it change. Remember, no spaces, just capitalize to scene. And scene is the same as a level, so that's how Unity refers to it in programming. It's a scene or a level. Okay, and then whenever you do a function, you do parentheses, and then a lot of times you won't put anything inside the parentheses, but in this case we are, because we're assigning a variable that and a variable is something that we can store data in, or numbers, or strings, which are words, and we want this function to be based off of this variable that we're creating. So we're going to type in int for integer, which is a whole number, okay, space, and what we want the name of this variable to be. So we're going to name it scene2. Remember, capitalize the T, and then don't do any spaces. Scene2 change 2. Okay. And you go outside the parentheses, do a space, click the shift and then the brackets to pull up your curly brackets, and then you hit enter, and it'll automatically bring them down like that for you to start writing in. Okay? So pretty much right now, this is a function that we have just created, and we have assigned a variable to this function that it's going to base all of its stuff off of. We'll learn more about typing stuff in these parentheses later. That can get gets a little bit more complicated. But for right now, we don't need to worry about it. We just know that this is a variable, okay? And we're going to assign a number to that variable later. So right now, this string of the code we're going to write is application, capital A, application. For once, this is just telling it, it's like our game. Our game is the application, okay? The computer doesn't think of it as a game, how we think of it. It's just an application that is running, okay? You do dot, okay, load level, okay? And this load level string here is just, it's saying application load this certain scene or level. It's the same thing in Unity, okay? It thinks of levels and scenes as the same thing. Okay, then you're going to hit parentheses, and this is saying what scene do we want to change to, okay? But we are not going to put a specific scene. You could, and then you wouldn't need this int scene to change to. You wouldn't need that. But that's for a different kind of changing scene that we'll get to later once we're actually in the game. But for right now, we're just going to make this, and here what scene we want to change it to. We're going to make this the variable that we created up here. Just type in exactly the same. Scene to change to. Okay. And then right here, it's saying the semicolon expected. And that's just how you end your line. So you click that, and right now it's good to go. So you hit Control S if you want this to actually be in Unity. So right now I'll show you guys. If we go into Unity and we do anything, it still says that our code is the same. It hasn't changed at all since we first created it. You have to click Control S to save it, and you'll see this turns green right here from yellow. See if I make a change, whatever that thing, it becomes yellow right there, and that means it hasn't been saved. So if I hit Control S, it all turns green. It means everything that's here, everything that's in green, has been updated in Unity. So now if we go back to Unity, you'll see it's changed. It shows the script that we have just created. So if we drag this script onto our scripts object that we created earlier, okay, you'll see that it is now right here. It is now a component that is a part of this object. So pretty much it's just a trait or something that we have created that goes along with this item. For us, it's just a container holding our scripts. So now, if we go back to our canvas, open it up, go to our play button, and we can close all this stuff right now because we're not changing any of the colors. This makes things look a little bit neater. If you, or wait, I close the, you still need this button script. Once this button script, you need that one open still. You see right here, it's got a function of itself. It says onClick parentheses. And onClick, it's saying, so when you click this, do this. And so right now it says list is empty. So to add one of our scripts that we added, you click this little plus mark, okay? And then you're going to see there's this option right here for all this. Just keep it on a runtime only. And it's saying what object is this script a part of. So that's what I'm saying. You could probably put it under the actual button itself and then refer back. That's not a good way to do it. Just you reference this script. So and how you do that is you, with this selected, you click and hold with the left mouse button on scripts. And you see I'm dragging it. I can move it around. You drag it over here towards asking for the object when you let go. Okay? And then it references that item now that's holding our scripts. And now you see this button, this drop down opens up and says no function. This is because we have no function created. And if you see in here, it's going to have some functions that are just default functions that Unity knows. You'll see right here, change scene. This is the one we created, okay? This is the function or the name of the script that we created. So you're going to go down to this one. You're going to find the name, change scene. You're going to come in here and there's going to be all these confusing ones. All you're looking for is the words change to scene. This is the one that we created. All these are this other default ones. So you just click this, okay? And now, if you see that, this is the variable that I was talking about that we're going to assign to later. Okay? And this is, you might ask, oh, how does this variable mean a scene? Well, right now we only have one scene, or even right now we really don't have a scene. So if we hit Control S inside Unity, see this scene pops up. It says it might have a pop-up window come up and say save this scene as, make it scene 0. Just with games and coding and everything, it's good to start at 0 and then go to 1. So, and now you think, okay, well that's 0 represents that. No, that's still not correct. It's pretty confusing. So if you go over here, you click File, Build Settings. Okay, you'll see this window will pop up. It says Scenes and Build. And you'll see all these scenes in here. Okay, these are scenes from the default standard assets that we created. You want to uncheck all these because we don't want these scenes to be in our game. That's great if you're running the default, the example ones, but we don't need that. So unclick those. Okay, and then you want to click Add Open Scenes, which is going to add the scene that is open right now. Okay, Add Open Scene. And you'll see Scene 0 pops up, and over here, okay, this 0 pops up. Now this 0 is not correlating with this 0. They have nothing to do in common. Okay, this is just the name of the scene. This is a number the engine gives the scene depending on what order it's in, okay? So this is the number that we are looking at to put right here, okay? But we don't want, when we click that button, we don't want it to change to the scene we're already in, okay? So for right now, we need to make another scene. So if we go to File, New Scene, okay, we click File. You can do File, Save Scene, or I just do Control S, and it'll pop up like this. Just don't, you can save it in a special spot if you want to just keep it right where it is. I'm going to say Scene 1. Okay. And now, if you go to File, Build Settings, again, click Add Open Scene, you'll see it adds it, and I could make this scene 33. and this number right here is still going to be 1. Okay, this is just the order of the scenes that the engine um, gives it. It has nothing to do with the name. So you don't need to worry about building any of these options right now. That's for when the game's completely done. So you're gonna hit this X, okay? And you're gonna open up our first scene, our original scene, okay? These are your two different levels. Ooh, these are just your two different levels in your game. Scene 0 is our original one. So double click that. It'll open this back up, okay? So if we go back into Canvas, okay, and we click play button, you'll see that this is still 0. Now we want this to be the scene we want it to change to, okay? So if we're in scene 0, we want it to go to the next scene, which would be our game. I have nothing created in that scene right now, but in the next episode we will actually create something. So right now we're just going to click 1, because that's the number that was in the build settings, okay? Now you can just click out of there. And now, if we click the play button to run our game, you'll see this pops up, whatever, however it becomes red. If I click the play button, you'll see it changes to scene 1, the next scene, okay? And real quick, or actually, I'm not even going to go over the quit button right now because you wouldn't be able to tell it's actually doing anything unless you actually built the game and ran it as an application separate out of Unity. So we'll get into that later, but it's the exact same process, just a different line of code. Instead of changing the scene, you just literally do application quit, and it just quits. So that's all for this episode. Next episode, we're probably going to get into actually creating a 3D world, getting some like grass and terrain, stuff like that in. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode.